Syria and Iraq tonight, but a well-placed U.S. military source confirms to me that what appears to be Israeli strikes inside Iran have taken place, but I am told that they are, quote, limited in nature.
That's Jennifer Griffin reporting on while you were sleeping, or as you were getting to sleep, some strikes from Israel directly in Iran last night. An unprecedented move, a limited and muted response. Antony Blinken now speaking after he's over in Capri, Italy. Welcome into Wake Up Mid-Missouri. That may not be the best opening for a Feel-Good Friday, but we have to talk about it because it's unprecedented. Stephanie's back, Hannah's there, and John says, put your hands over the kids' ears. So, but I don't think
to live by.
All right. We're all here. And Stephanie, you're back in. We're going to talk about your Ashland Leader event. I want to hear what's happening there in a little bit.
And find out if she brought us any leftovers.
Bacon and eggs and biscuits, I'm hoping. Let's see. Dwayne Carey's going to join us at 7:10. Why? Because, of course, he's the Boone County Sheriff, and there's a great new law enforcement center that will be coming up, building and, coming around pretty soon. It's a statewide available facility. So that'll be fun to talk with him. And then Lieutenant Governor and candidate for governor Mike Kehoe will join us as he is just back from the Texas border visit last week. So we'll be talking with him at 7:35. Busy day here on the program and lots of good stuff, too. Don't forget winners and losers come up at 8:35. So start marking your ballots for your winner and loser candidates.
I also have a post up on the Wake Up Mid-Missouri Facebook page. If you would rather, just go leave a comment there and we'll share it later.
Yeah. And if you want to weigh in about anything that's going on, 573-874-9390. Also, Trump trial back in force today or yesterday, and they did finally seat everyone. I think, there were a couple jurors dismissed. They discovered some things back in their social media files, but that is moving along quicker than we thought. Now, Stephanie, on to your event yesterday, the Ashland Leadership Breakfast, right? Tell us a little bit about that.
The Southern Boone Community Leader Breakfast. I guess they said they had 40 people registered sometime last week. The day before I heard there was going to be 100 people, and I think they said 140 people showed up. So it was quite the showing. And it was great because we had the state Department of Economic Development there. The keynote was Michelle Hadaway. Of course, she was just named the actual director from the acting director. And so I think having a really good showing here in Mid-Missouri was really neat. She did a great job, gave a presentation kind of about what the department does, what services they can offer to even folks locally, and some data about Boone County. And I thought that was really great. They had some of their staff there in the room, and they said, hey, if you've got an idea, if you're working on a project, if you wonder if there's incentives or, funds out there or a program or a person that can help you, give us a call. We can help with that, and introduced her staff to the folks in the room. And I think that's really helpful because so many of these successful projects that have occurred not only in Ashland but in mid-Missouri have taken, local leaders, state leaders, regional leaders. And so it's really important that we know who those people are. And I think so many times the state does have programs that people are unaware of or they don't utilize. So I was really, really glad to see that. And they kind of, and she did present also on a case study and talked about the recent project at Unilever and how impactful that will be. So that was really cool. We also got updates from the schools. Of course, they just passed another bond issue, so that was great. Rankin Technical College, who's going to do a ribbon cutting here in 2 weeks, and talking about some of the programs they're using. They've got a lot of scholarship money available. And so I think that's really important, especially as we continue to endure the Joe Biden economy and as we look at the cost of traditional institutions. So I'd encourage, if you've got kids in that age range, give them a call and see what they might be able to do. They're doing the programs there that he was talking about were really cool. They also, and I hope I don't give too much away because I want to get in on this. He said they're going to be doing some camps over the summer for middle schoolers. Wow. And as it's really hard to find camps for kids in the summer. I mean, there's a lot of camps, but it's just, I'm always looking for something interesting and educational that my kids can do. So I'm going to check that out.
So that would be like maybe a little early shop experience, right? I mean, sort of emulating what they might experience in high school and beyond.
Yeah, a little taste. So I'm excited about that. They've got, and the city and county, we heard updates, which we're going to hear from Sheriff Carey a little bit. Kip Kendrick talked a lot about their law enforcement center. I do want to get Mike Parks on the program, and I know, John, you had said he mentioned this the last time he was on the show. He talked about, obviously the new terminal is the big news at the airport, but he said they've got a program, I think it's with Moberly Community College.
And Mike Parks, of course, is with the airport.
Columbia Regional Airport. And, of course, with the new terminal, they have this old terminal sitting there. So they're working on two things. One, a rental car facility, which will be on the other side of the new terminal. But where the old terminal is, I think they're going to work with the community college on some sort of pilot training program.
Yeah, it was pretty in-depth, is what Mike told us. It was going to go all the way from just basic private pilot licenses up to multi-engine commercial licenses for people who want to go into the industry as pilots.
And I think that's really great because we've talked about how Lincoln University has stepped up in many ways when the community has identified a need. And Mike said, one thing that the airline industry has really struggled with is a pilot shortage. And so Moberly's stepping up to try to help with that because they said that's one thing that's really holding them back.
When you talk about the economic development, is the scope of the projects that they support mainly bringing a large industry in and partnering with, economic development people in the local community, or could it be even a small business person? I mean, what is their target audience when they're talking about economic development?
I think typically you hear more about the larger projects, but certainly they have resources and programs available to small businesses.
Well, and I'm thinking particularly like in the healthcare space, if there's a need. Did I read that the Oats is going defunct in Jefferson City?
I saw that.
And so I'm thinking, okay, but there might be a lane that maybe some creative entrepreneur may want to partner with some agency and cobble together some grants and work that way, right? I mean, or is this just strictly about making sure the infrastructure is there for the economic development? I'm just wondering for listeners there, do you have to be a CEO, someone sitting in the C-suite to benefit from what they do?
Oh, no, I don't think so. And they've got a great website that has a lot of the resources in, and they've got, like I said, they've got people assigned to each area. And so there's literally a central Missouri person. Yeah. And I think of it as, the worst thing that, you can explain what you're doing, and the worst thing you can get is, we don't have anything for you. I mean, so why wouldn't you ask?
Right.
Because if you've got an idea, I would reach out to them and get in touch with them.
In the wake of the pandemic, a lot of people were looking for new things to do, either because they were furloughed or they just got tired of whatever, and it was an opportunity for many people to start up. And I'm thinking that there's probably more opportunity there than many people think, because like you say, they get the marquee headlines with the big boys. But I know that at least in the regional economic development where I was in Northeast Missouri, they would help medium to small businesses too.
And they're also really well connected with other partners. So maybe the answer is, hey, actually there might be a local incentive that will help you, or maybe you need to go talk to DNR or whatever. And so that would be helpful as well.
I think absolutely. You did a great job at the breakfast, by the way. Big crowd. And I think what Stephanie highlighted is the collaboration between Moberly Area Community College, Rankin's involved, University of Missouri. I mean, they used to kind of be rivals, but in many ways, a lot of these schools do work together. Randy, to your point, this Rankin thing, folks, I'm telling you, it cannot be overstated. This is a huge deal. A week from today, 10 a.m., that's the biggest question I've had. When is it going to open? When is it going to open? Ribbon cutting is a week from today at 10. But their campus specifically is going to focus on construction. In no particular order here, four main things: construction, IT, nursing. That I think is huge in manufacturing. And Don Pohl has been on our station before, the president of Rankin. He has said repeatedly that Rankin didn't choose Ashland. Ashland chose Rankin. Wow. They went out and raised the money. The governor himself went there several times. I mean, that community wanted it. They got it. It's a big deal, and I encourage people, to get there next Friday and get there early if you want a parking spot, because that place is going to be jam-packed. You'll probably be having to walk from McDonald's down there. It's how many people are going to be there. I'm joking a little bit, but it's going to be packed. 10 a.m. next Friday. It's a big deal. And,
thanks to the likes of Mike Rowe and the realities of the workforce shortage and the increased technology and skill set that's required these days in the vocations, between the upstart, Rankins of the world, the visibility and the prosperity that results from vocations, I'm glad to see vocations are getting the respect they deserve. And it's a really ripe time for that center there.
Well, and
especially on payday.
Yeah.
Well, that's for
what
sure.
I mean.
Exactly.
Well, and Mike Rowe and like dirty jobs or whatever.
Yeah, I love it.
These aren't dirty jobs. I mean, a lot of so they were talking about. I think it's the industrial maintenance technology. I mean, you're essentially talking about robotics,
Right.
And it's incredible. I mean, to hear them talk yesterday about the programs, and I think that's why I'm really excited. I haven't been through the facility yet, but I'm really excited for folks to actually get there, put their feet on the ground, get in the facility, learn more about these programs, because I think there are a lot of kids out there that can benefit.
Yeah, I agree. And on the side, I want people to look at the front of the building when they look at Rankin. I think this is significant. It's not just words. It says Rankin, but on the top of the building it says Workforce Development Center. Workforce Development Center. That's exactly what it is. And yes, these, you folks out there that are interested in going in, you're going to probably be making $60,000, $70,000 a year in some of these positions.
Workforce development, Mike Parsons' favorite word.
Yeah, and that's what he's been talking about it since 2018, and the media teases him about it, but he's serious about it, and it works.
Well, and I think I think an important point too is that if you're an adult and you want to make a career change, there's going to be evening courses available, and some of these things I think you can do in as little as like 18 months. And so if you're thinking like, gosh, I really don't want to sit behind a desk, I want to do something different, this is a program that's going to be available not just to the kids but to adults as well.
Or a lot of Americans, and it's being shown in the labor statistics in the unemployment numbers that come out every month, a lot of the jobs that are being so-called created are part-time jobs, and they are people that are filling in their bank accounts that have been decimated by Joe Biden's inflationary economy. And a lot of the jobs are part-time jobs. And you could see yourself maybe learning a second skill, getting another gig that, who knows, may become your primary gig. But a lot of people are having to backfill the budget because of the inflation spike that we saw a couple of years ago. Never mind what it is now. It was up.
And there's been multiple reports, Randy, one of the biggest growing sects of the workforce is people 75 and older, my parents' age. They have to go back to work because they don't have the money.
That's right.
They can't make it on Social Security. And by the way, those are the most dependable workers out there, the older people. They show up, they're going to be on time, and they do a good job.
So we'll be doing the Daily DC
because they've already had 2 people essentially walk away or dismiss themselves from the process. And so I think we are up to the full 12 as of late last night, but we need these 5 alternates. The judge has actually indicated that they could start opening statements as early as Monday. Trump continues to campaign as much as he can around the city and actually has had a pretty positive response. But certainly his ability to campaign much beyond that is pretty hamstrung. But yeah, opening statements Monday, Randy, are you ready?
It's amazing. Yeah. But what's really interesting is the minute that these jurors are either initially excused because they raise their hand in the screening or later on, they're out talking to MSNBC, to CNN, and how much they just can't stand Donald Trump. It's amazing.
The one said he was very selfish and self-serving, and she's still serving as a juror.
Yeah.
We knew. It's New York, right? It's like picking the least of the worst. He's not. It's going to be tough for them to find someone, and everyone has an opinion on Donald Trump.
This is the evil of 2 lessers.
Yes, I'm not surprised to hear this. I am kind of surprised that we are expecting a vote on the foreign aid bill this weekend. The members of Congress are going to be in on the weekend. They, I think, are making some tweaks to the rules on how this thing's actually going to move forward. It's going to be tough. The speaker right now he can only lose 2 votes to pass anything. That's how slim the majority is. And of course, Wisconsin's Mike Gallagher resigns this weekend, and that complicates it. There's a Democrat, Representative Payne, that's actually hospitalized right now. So it's going to be a close one. We can kind of walk through a little bit of what they have in the package. Of course, it has funds for Ukraine. The aid totals about $61 billion. We've got, but something that I hadn't been following that actually is in this package is the TikTok ban has glommed on to the foreign. You're excited about that, Randy.
Watch Hannah perk up on that one, yeah.
And Josh Hawley.
Follow me, producer_Hannah.
The aid to Israel totals about $26 billion, but the bill and the total package actually includes what they're calling other foreign policy objectives, and one of those is the TikTok ban, which I think passed the House, but then has kind of languished.
And you are going to get to the border security bill that's coming up in the same vote? No? I'm kidding you there. I'm kidding you there. Isn't it amazing? Crickets chirping on border security.
Well, and, a lot of people feel how you feel, Randy, and that's why everyone's saying Mike Johnson's days.
handy, the numbers, if you'd like to join in. In a minute, we'll find out what in the world happened to Jason Kelsey's ring. But first, yesterday, a great thing happened in the Missouri House. They finally passed that SB 727 bill.
They sure did. So a huge win for education reform proponents. It's a massive bill. It does more than just education reform, but of course that was the main
the biggie
of the bill. Not only, I think the big deal here in mid-Missouri is it would add potentially, it authorizes charter schools in Boone County. It
expands the availability and the eligibility for the Education Assistance Program and getting scholarships to schools. So, that's another good thing. There were some compromises in there, but it does move the needle a little bit. And, John, I guess we'll take what we can get.
Yeah, that was the whole deal. And like Steph said, the big angle, at least to mid-Missouri, was the whole angle to allow charter schools to operate in Boone County. And it was kind of interesting that the way this bill kind of shook out when we talked to Senator Travis Fitzwater yesterday, his take on it was that people from both sides of the issue were sort of meeting around back on the backside and seeing, and both, not only just the homeschoolers, but the public school folks had the same issues with the bill.
Well, and it didn't break down just as an R&D issue. It passed with 82 votes. 79 of those were Republican, 3 Democrats, and then in opposition, 45 Democrats and 24 Republicans. So in talking about Missouri terms, that's a close vote because
it's
typically
a bare minimum.
Yeah. So really close vote, and it just squeaked by, and I know a lot of people were nervous about whether or not that would cross the finish line. Of course, they've been talking about education reform for years, so a huge day. And of course, I think it's fully expected that the governor will sign that bill. And it's news that there's just any action at all over in the legislature, and they've actually, I think we're up to, I just had it up here, I think we're up to 3 or 4 substantive bills that have been truly agreed and finally passed. So we've also got virtual schools. They passed that, and then the treasurer got his Mo Bucks bill passed as well. So I mean,
that's good.
I mean, that's 3 more bills than they passed all sessions.
But there's something else here, Stephanie, that we have to point out. Let's give the numbers. I'm going to give them to the audience, and I want them to listen to these numbers closely. The Republicans control the Missouri House 111 to 51. 111 to 51. The bill passed with a bare minimum of 82. You referenced it, Stephanie. But they needed 3 Democrats. If those 3 Democrats had not crossed over, that bill doesn't pass. In Marlene Terry is being championed right now and being hailed by the Republicans that voted for this because she really casts the deciding vote. She represents North St. Louis County, African-American Democratic lawmaker, African-American district, and she said she did this because she was doing it for her grandson. She gave and then she praised Representative Christopher Nelly on the floor. But, that means a lot of Republicans voted on the other side. So it really wasn't
24 Republicans voting against.
Okay,
that's significant.
Okay. Hang on. A lot of folks are saying, wait a minute, it passed 82 to 69. That's a 13-vote margin. That's not. That's what. So I think we need to understand what it takes to pass them.
82 is these folks need to understand the rules. 82.
Because, 82, isn't it a simple majority?
No. You need
okay,
82
well, let's
votes.
make sure people understand that.
Well, they should know that. That's been the way it is forever.
Well, not everyone knows that, though.
Yeah, well, they know now. 82 votes, and that's the minimum. No, I understand.
You see what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying. Yeah, but 82 is the bare minimum to take it, and if the governor, let's just say he were to veto the bill, it's never going to get overridden. I don't expect him to veto that, but no, 82 is that's the minimum number of votes you need in the House. But the bottom line is, if those 3 Democrats had not crossed over, that bill doesn't pass. I have to assume when Travis Fitzwater was on the show, Stephanie, yesterday, he was talking about the stuff in the back rooms. I assume he was talking about Mike Henderson and John Patterson. They had to be counting votes back there because they had to do that because there's no way otherwise they would have known they had the votes.
Right. So huge day yesterday.
Yeah, it's a good deal. I think, as I've said and say again, I don't understand why they can't do more with a supermajority, but that's because the GOP can't get their act together.
It's true.
Right?
Well, a lot of people, in fact, Lincoln Huff practically said that yesterday. Even with the supermajority.
And Lincoln Huff and those who are the more moderate can't get their act together to come more. I mean, come on. I like Lincoln Huff. I like Bill Eigel. But I mean, really, we're in a supermajority in a super red state, and we can't, with those kind of numbers, we can't get vouchers. We can't get the same things that other states can get that have, either sometimes less majorities. I don't know.
But you think you're in a super Republican state. I mean, because that's what people are telling you. But I mean, look at here on education. I mean, Republicans should be supporting education choice, and you saw 30 of them voted against education choice. I mean, come on. And the people who are telling you that they are the most Republican people ever, a lot of the folks of the Freedom Caucus, look at their campaign reports. I mean, the trial lawyers are giving them money hand over fist, and they vote for things like VLTs and illegal gaming machines. I mean, so they like to tell you that we have the most, but when you really look behind the curtain, the reason why we have these issues is not everyone is as Republican as they claim to be. And I'm not talking about the people that are traditionally called rhinos. Even the people who claim that they're the most Republican aren't always on the conservative side of the issues or supported by traditionally conservative
we're going to ask. Bill Eigel's going to be on the show on Monday.
Good.
Because there certainly was big news. Lincoln Huff made some big news, and he shot a couple of shots across the bow, just like the stealth F-35s in Israel that Israel used to drop a few things on Iran overnight. So we'll see what happens. He said, I think he used a word about something about Bill Eigel's stamina.
He did.
So
he also said he bought a silence. They bought a silence, if you remember. He said that.
Yeah. So
with the project.
About the water project.
So we'll have to see what happens on Monday. You won't want to miss that. That'll be a lot of fun. All right. Now to Jason Kelsey's ring. Once in a while you do things that you, in retrospect, regret.
Morgan Wallen.
We hope.
Morgan Wallen had a Super Bowl ring?
Even though he's retired from the NFL, as ABC 17 reports, he's continuing to do Jason Kelsey things even after he retires. Apparently, there was some kind of is it Lom Baby Games? What is the Lom Baby Games? I don't know what this is. Great Lom Baby. A live show hosted by the brothers Kelsey. And I guess teams compete in ridiculous games. One challenge saw participants wade through pools of Skyline chili, searching for replica Super Bowl rings tied to socks. Unfortunately,
because what else would they be tied to, right?
I guess one of those replicas was actually Jason Kelsey's genuine ring from the 2018 Philadelphia Eagles victory. So he lost his Super Bowl ring. Can't find it in the massive chili, which is now in some landfill, according to Jason.
Yeah, he said that they went through everything, pretty carefully. They even took a metal detector to said chili and didn't get any hits. He said that he's already filed a claim with his insurance company.
What's the price tag on that?
Depends on whose it is, but they're not cheap.
They've been auctioned for between $230,000 to Tom Brady's, which fetched $345,000.
Wow!
And I mean, it's a ring from 2018. So would he be able to get a replacement one made? I mean, obviously they make replicas, but you think they'd make him?
The big class ring company, Jostens, is the same one who makes the Super Bowl rings. I'm sure if the price is right, they'll gladly make you a replica.
Can you see Kylie's face? Like, honey, I lost a ring the price of a home in a vat of chili.
Well, the documentary series that I think it was either on Netflix or Amazon Prime about a year ago, that followed him throughout what was going to be his last season before he decided to do one more. In that documentary, there's a clip of him searching the house for one of his Super Bowl rings.
Oh, really?
And he can't find it. He's like, it's probably in a junk drawer somewhere. And he did eventually find it in the house, but Kylie the whole time was not impressed. Like, it comes in this really nice box, with all sorts of LED lights and things when you open the lid. and it wasn't in its box. It was just loose in a drawer somewhere.
He should have prayed to, is it St. Anthony? I don't know. I have a Catholic mother-in-law, and there's somebody that you pray to. When
Patron
you think
saint of lost causes.
Yes. And she says it works. But it's always in the last place you look for it, right?
Now, of course,
So.
Travis didn't have any sympathy, calling him an imbecile. And he said, so ridiculous. This is Travis. Kids, if you're watching at home, don't do what Jason is doing. It's just a hunk of metal. He says, I'll just have another one made, I think. They can do that, right? Yeah. And I got to say, I got a shout out for Justin's. I had a little, see this, I don't know, it's just black. It's either onyx, or I don't know what it is. And it's got a little the snake caduceus in it. And I had somehow ripped it against a concrete block or something and couldn't get it fixed. And no one locally had the means to do that. Went to Betts, and they just don't have the means to reproduce that kind of a thing. And my wife, that was a Christmas present. She sent it in. They were for free. They fixed it.
Wow.
I couldn't believe it. So it was really nice. Good for them.
Well, and Travis's girlfriend had a big day yesterday. So
This morning continues to have a big day.
I thought it was last night.
Well, so last night at midnight in some time zone, so it would have been 11 p.m. for us.
Which is special for the Swifties, right?
Yes, she has a whole entire album called Midnights. She dropped her long-awaited The Tortured Poets Department, and initially it had 16 songs on it, which is already quite a few songs, I think, for an album. And then at 2 a.m., she dropped 15 more surprise songs. So there are 31 songs total, which, of course, you flip the numbers and that 31 becomes 13, which is her lucky number that the fandom is obsessed with. But there are 31 songs on this surprise double album, and there are some that are thinking that maybe a couple of the songs are about Travis Kelce.
What?
Yes. So one of the songs on the...
It's supposed to be a breakup album, isn't it?
Well, right. So this song that people are saying, it's called Alchemy, and she's talking about essentially how she's coming out of the darkness and she's drawn to like this person's heart, and there's no sense in denying it. There's some very subtle football references.
Does she have one in there that says "Single ladies put a Super Bowl ring on it"? Oh wait, that's a different. That's Queen Bee, right?
So the chorus of this song called Alchemy says, "So when I touch down, call the amateurs and cut them from the team. Ditch the clowns, get the crown, baby, I'm the one to be."
But this wouldn't be her first Super Bowl reference, because she has the one about like what I'm on the bleachers and.
Well, I mean, yeah, but the song The Alchemy is right after the song titled The Smallest Man Who Ever Lived. And so folks are saying there's some significance there as well.
Boy, I don't know if we need to go there. It is a family show.
Yeah, little Donald Trump dissing there.
But no, to release 31 songs, so she's been writing songs for the last 2 years while she's been on this huge worldwide tour that I believe starts back up in May.
I thought the whole premise of this album was they were like also from the vault. That some of these were old songs.
Well, she typically labels them when they're from the vault, and I have not seen that label on any of them.
Okay. I'm not a certified Swiftie.
We'll have to call Casey Burns, because I know that she's probably already listened to all 31 songs.
Well, there you go. That's our Feel Good Friday entertainment correspondent producer Hannah report on Taylor Swift.
Here all week, folks.
Yeah. Now, can I go down to the record shop and buy an album? Or are they no longer publishing physical albums?
Do they still have records?
on with the Kennedy family and stuff. Dwayne Carey will join us at 7:10 because he's got to be proud of what's going on over there. And some interesting social culture things, too, with their daycare center that's proposed for there. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So it'll be fun.
Not only did they do the groundbreaking, but they have hopes of doing even more stuff there.
Yeah, it's neat. And then Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe at 7:35, 7:36-ish, and calling in about his Texas border visit. So I keep wondering, we're voting on Ukraine aid, and are we going to help Israel with more? I think President authorized more materiel directly, arms shipments from our stockpiles going to Israel in the wake of this attack on Iran. It was a little hint that they could do whatever they darn well wanted to.
You know, what happened overnight seems really bizarre to me because they keep saying, like, allegedly, not confirmed, whatever. And we knew so much about the attack on Israel. You know, we knew exactly how many rockets were headed there, where they were coming from, you know, even before they were supposedly set to reach Israel. And it seems weird that the information, I mean, we're getting more this morning, but especially early this morning, it was so limited.
I know. I think both sides, I think Israel was sending a message that from what
Big
I can
time.
glean, that like, hey, we can attack you, because they attacked the province where the nuclear facilities are, right? And so I guess the stealth jets, John, those F-35s can go under the radar. It wasn't a matter of the Iranian defense systems maybe not being able to down whatever's in the air. It's just they have to identify it, and apparently that's the problem.
It sounded like the vast majority of it from the Israelis was drones
Yeah.
this time around that went in, and pretty much with impunity, as they say.
Yeah, so they're sending a message, and I think Iran is Sheriff Dwayne Carey joins us now. Nice to meet you, sir. I've never met you personally, but it's great to make in-person meeting. I've heard so much about you, and they're thankful for all the work you do.
All good things, of course.
All good things. No, most of it good. I mean, talking to your mom, does a good job. Hey, welcome into Wake Up Mid-Missouri.
Yeah, I don't know if this is working.
Can
you hear me?
There you go. We've got it.
You got it?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not hearing you great, but anyway.
You're not hearing us.
I can hear you.
Oh, you can hear me good. Okay, good.
So we'll make it work.
All right. Hey, so you had a big groundbreaking on Wednesday, right?
Yeah, exciting times.
Yeah.
In 2021, they transferred the Boone County Fairgrounds to the city of Columbia. We had used that as kind of our makeshift training facility for a couple of decades. When that went away, we had to kind of come up with a plan. I started working with an architect, Eric Miller, with PW Architects here in Columbia. And for the last couple of years, we've been putting this plan together, kind of adapting to it, talking to a lot of different people, trying to come up with that perfect plan. And then Kip Kendrick came into presiding commissioner role, understood how Jeff City worked, knew there was some money down there. He and I started visiting the Capitol, and we ended up getting some funding for it last year. Really thanks to, President Pro Tem Caleb Rowden, Lincoln Huff, Cody Smith. I mean, those guys made this happen for us down in Jeff City. And so we got some funding. The county put some funding in, and now we're off and running. So it's exciting times.
So, we talk an awful lot about how law enforcement across the country is just so under siege for many reasons, and we don't want to get into the political and social reasons behind it. But, I mean, this is really just a super high spot, and it's in a time when certainly it's difficult to recruit and retain folks, right? There's no secret about that. Technology is on the upswing, right? So you've had to factor all of those elements right into the planning, I would guess.
Oh,
right?
by all means. And so if you think about the national narrative of, you see these different incidents that occur.
Yeah.
They always come back to training, in my opinion. So even if you look at Floyd, just a variety of different ones, it comes back to training and what the expectations are for the law enforcement officer. And I talked about this the other day when I was at the podium, is that when COVID hit, everybody went to online training. You couldn't have contact with anybody and all that. So the problem is a lot of agencies have not pulled out of that. They're still doing online because it's easy. You don't have to pay overtime. They can do it whenever they want to do it. But I am a big fan of the scenario-based hands-on training. And we've been doing it for decades over at the old Coliseum at the fairgrounds. So, we can do felony car stops. We can do de-escalation mental health, all your DT, building search, domestic violence. You can do whatever scenario that you want to do. So what we wanted to do is everything that we had done at the fairgrounds, we wanted to reconstruct in this building. But we wanted to add a live shoot component because we use a range at a quarry outside, and at the old fairgrounds, we obviously didn't have the live shoot component. So we actually were going to do one building initially, and then the Highway Patrol, they were doing a building over in Lee Summit, and they said, hey, don't put the range below because you can't do anything above it. So separate your buildings. So then Eric and I separated it. So basically the training center itself has a DT room, because just so everybody understands, right now, if we're going to do defense tactics, we have to move tables out of our training room, put down some yoga mats, do the training, pick the yoga mats back up. But the problem is then if you need somebody that needs remedial work or they want to do some more session, they can't do it. This is a 24-hour room where our DT instructors can get in there with anybody that they want to do ground fighting and that kind of thing. Then we have a simulation room, to your point about technology. For 25 or 30 years, it's like a video game is the way that I explain it to people, but it's a screen. It's called FATS. We're actually going to go virtual, but you have a suspect there on the screen. It's like a big video game, and then you have a video game gun in your holster, and you're de-escalating, put down the weapon, doing all of that stuff that we have to do in the field, and then ultimately you either handle the situation. It's kind of a shoot, no shoot type thing. And then driving simulator, we're putting one of those in because the technology with that today, if I'm in pursuit, I can feel the seats moving as I'm cornering, driving on ice, just a variety of different things. And so that's where we're kind of spending a little bit of money. And then we have a big warehouse area where we do our scenario-based training. And so it's basically you go from simulation, that video game I'm talking about, to simunition, which is a lot like paint gun. for the novice to understand. Sure. And so we could do a felony car stop where we have 3 deputies and a suspect, an actor. We're giving commands. And then what we're looking at is we're going to debrief, like positioning of the cars. Did you talk to him long enough? Why did you allow him to come back here? And so we'll put a big screen, like a giant screen on the TV, where we can debrief right after the incident.
Wow.
We also have rooms in this warehouse that might be set up like a bedroom or a living room or whatever. So you can then do a 2-person call where you're working on a domestic violence call, or it might be a mental health offender that is laying in bed. You can't see the hands, so you got to use your words and talk. So there's just so many different things that we can do with this. And then you go through the walkway into the live shoot tactical range to where we'll do all of our qualifying. We can do downrange tactical. And what's intriguing about this is it's the only one that I know of where we have a live shoot house inside our tactical range. So all of our SWAT guys, all of our regional partners can come and do different exercises within our shoot houses. And we're not just doing one. Like the Highway Patrol has one that we use currently, but it's the same layout every time you go. So what we're doing is we're getting movable walls, and we're going to do 3 different shoot houses. So if you're coming up from, let's say, Cole County, we'll say, hey, you're going to be in shoot house 2 today. You might not have ever seen shoot house 2. If you come back in a year and a half from now, the walls might be moved and it's different layouts. You're never going to remember where you're going to go. So it's just, it's intriguing. The example that I give a lot to people, and I gave it the other day at the podium, is if you think about Eli Drinkwitz, Coach Drinkwitz, Murray State's coming to town on August 29th, 7 o'clock Thursday night. They know that game's going to happen. They're going to do everything that they can to prepare those players. They're going to practice. They're watching film. They're debriefing practice. They're putting in offensive plays, defensive schemes. He's going to make sure. He doesn't play the game anymore, but he's going to make sure that his players have all those tools. It's the exact same situation for us. We just don't know when our game is going to be played. It might be a Monday morning, it might be Thursday afternoon, or it could be Saturday night. But we have to have our law enforcement officers ready to go whenever that game happens, and that's my ultimate responsibility. So the other thing, and I'm sorry, I'm just talking.
Oh, you're doing great. The passion, the excitement is really inspirational, I have to tell you.
Well, I appreciate that. The nice thing about this is about 10 years ago, we started a regional canine training program. And so what that means is when I was a sergeant lieutenant, we used to send our canine guys to Nebraska. So what happens is all your dogs are at maintenance training. You have no dogs available. And so you're paying per diem, hotel, food, all of that. And they're gone for about 2 weeks. So what we decided was, hey, we want to keep our handlers here. And I had a really good guy named Chris Smith. He's my director of canine operations now. And so I said, why don't we get him state and nationally trained to where he can train others, and then we can kind of take care of our Central Missouri partners to help out Callaway and Audrain and Cole. And so we started that. Chris got all the training. He just does a killer job. But what's happened with that, and I call it Field of Dreams, right? You build it, then everybody's going to come and they want to use it. If it's quality training, everybody's going to want to do it. So now we're doing over 40 different agencies. Buchanan County out on the Kansas line.
Wow.
Northwest.
We're down to West Plains, all the way into the St. Charles area, up to the Iowa line. So we have 40 different agencies where we're training their handlers now. So this regional approach works really well when you provide quality training. So what our thought was, hey, we're going to expand what we're doing with canine into firearms, defense tactics, all of that good stuff. The other thing that I'll finish and let you guys talk. The other thing was I wanted to make sure that we had a big enough room. So a couple of years ago, and you guys have probably heard of Echelon Front. It's Navy SEALs, Jocko and Leaf.
Oh, yeah.
They do extreme ownership. And I'm big into extreme ownership. Like, if we jack something up, we freaking got to own it. And I don't care if you're a deputy, a sergeant, lieutenant, sheriff, whoever. If you screw it up, you've got to own it. So we started bringing them in a couple of years ago. It's expensive training. But, man, it's quality stuff.
Yeah.
Quality national training. Now, we don't get Jocko and Leaf because you're really up into the 6 figures for that. But Cody and Sean, those guys do an incredible job. And so what we started with was our command staff and all of our leadership positions. And then this year, we're going to have our leaders, our sergeants, with their squads going through just training with their squads. And so it's going to be dynamite stuff. The point of that is we built the room about 160 people. So what we can do is bring them in and then offer this great national training that some of these agencies could never afford. But for nominal fees, they're going to be able to get into all of our training. We're not going to try to break the bank. It's not a revenue thing. It's to make a little bit of money and do a lot of goodwill with a lot of our good regional partners. But we can host that training, have a full training room, Callaway, Fulton PD. I'm just, naming a couple. Anybody can come to that. And so that's going to be another dynamite feature of that is the big classroom, because we just don't have that really outside of the executive center. And then actually, I was in a meeting yesterday. We were talking about a big active shooter thing that we're going to try to do this summer. And so you're paying $6,000 or $8,000 to rent that out. We're not going to have to rent anything out. We're going to have our own building now. So it's just dynamite stuff. And, we have a lot of support. I know there was a local TV station that tried to make this whole damn thing about CPD, whether they were going to use it or not. We actually did a response to that yesterday. But the key to this, right, is it's a regional training center. Anybody that wants to use it, they're more than welcome. Come use it. I've had sheriffs already tell me that once it opens up, they're going to do all of their training with us. And so they're just going to contract with us. And again, it's not about making money, it's making goodwill.
I'm thinking broad spectrum, state of the art, trying to share best practices not only with your troops but everyone around. Man, it just doesn't get better than that.
And if you think about it, we're the only sheriff's office in the state of Missouri that is nationally accredited on the operations side and the jail side. And so one of the other things that I'm looking at down the road is a jail academy. Nobody has that. And so since we're the only NIJO accredited jail, what a great opportunity that would be to put a 40-hour academy together for detention staff. So just dynamite. Really looking forward to the future.
I know we're short on time. You do believe this will be done by late 2025?
Yeah. So the crazy thing is, we wanted to open the doors January 1 of 26. Okay. Reinhardt Construction gave us a date in our pre-construction meeting of somewhere middle of June if the weather's good. And so, it's moving faster than, once it gets here, then it starts really moving. So
I encourage people to take a look at 939theeagle.com and KWS.com. I have pictures.
No, that was great, and it was great to see. So that's a good segue into your always feel-good stuff.
Yeah, so I found a story. I don't know if it's feel good so much as it's just weird.
Oh, okay. Well, that feels good sometimes, too.
Yeah, it's over in the UK, across the pond. And a British farmer has gone viral because she has found a creative way to keep her rams from fighting each other. So she raises a lot of sheep. Of course, rams are temperamental, to say the least, because they got all that testosterone. They think they need to be the alpha. But apparently the cure is to spray them with a specific scent of Axe body spray.
Oh.
And the scent...
Smell like a middle school locker room.
That's right.
Depending on where you live, the scent is either called Africa or Lynx, but it's the same scent. And she sprays that on her rams. Something about the spray neutralizes one of the hormone scents that the other males pick up on.
Oh.
And so they don't fight anymore
It's
because
the anti-pheromone, huh?
pretty
I'll be darned.
much. But yeah,
I think it
Axe body
also
spray.
repels the females in America,
So
too.
they're not fighting over the gals?
Yeah.
But yeah, Axe body spray. Apparently, if anyone listening that raises sheep, if you got two dudes that don't get along, try Africa by Axe or Lynx by Axe.
That paddock smells like the men's room at the Alibi Bar.
I just thought that was weird and entertaining.
That's weird. But that is so I didn't realize that. So the rams can really tear up the herd, huh? Can be rough when they get out of control.
I mean, most species are like that, though. You put more than one male in a pack or a flock in this case, and it doesn't usually end well.
No, that's true. That's true. Wow, something else. Hey, well, when we come back, it'll be fun to talk with Mike Kehoe, because he's just coming back from the border. It's amazing how border discussion has really things may delay him. We'll see if we can talk with him. Spent last weekend on the border talking with Missouri State Highway Patrol troopers about their activities down there, supporting the efforts, which if Biden won't do it, it's going to take we the people in our states to do it. That's small R republicanism at its best, no doubt about that. You know, we haven't talked much, Stephanie, about the announcement yesterday that Mizzou made as far as they've hired the developer and for the renovation of the stadium there.
Yeah, they kind of teased a big announcement, and everyone was speculating. They were in Rolla yesterday. That didn't. They moved their meetings around, but the curators announced this huge project for the stadium, and I just saw overwhelming support and excitement from folks. They released some kind of 3D renderings and kind of, I don't know, it wasn't AI, but what they think the stadium's going to look like, and people are saying finally we get like a true SEC amazing stadium. So it looks pretty cool.
So the DLR group will be designing what they call a transformational improvement to Memorial Stadium. Bum, bum, bum. What does that mean?
That's the north end zone. They've talked about that so much that much was there. I thought it was interesting that they pointed out that the hill and the big M will remain. So people shouldn't be worried about that.
Very important, very important. Well, there are certain things that we must preserve and maintain, and our border is one of them. And Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe joins us now, just back from the border last weekend when he had a trip there. Welcome to Wake Up Mid-Missouri, Lieutenant Governor.
Good morning, guys. Great to be on with you. Thank you for having me.
Hey, so I watched that video that you made down there on the border, and tell us a little bit about what you saw, what the experience told you about what Missourians are doing through their activities down there, and maybe what needs to be done.
Well, sure. Thank you. So this is our second trip down. About a month ago, we went and visited two of our National Guard units in Laredo, Texas. This trip was to McAllen, Texas, to visit our Highway Patrol. We had 11 troopers down there assisting Texas DPS Highway Patrol members at the border. What we see is just troubling. It's like what you see on the news, but it only seems worse. We literally were going to one of the border sites when with one of the Texas Highway Patrolmen when an alert came up on his screen in his car on his laptop with a picture of illegal immigrants, coming across the river with a ladder so they could climb over the wall, a homemade ladder. It's an amazing sight to see in a sad way because these illegals are coming across at record numbers. DPS down there, their Department of Public Safety, is really what their efforts are is to try to funnel people to what they call a POE, a point of entry, so they can legally process these people. The folks that they're having problems with are the ones who won't go to those legal entry points. And the amount of drugs and illegal cash and different things that are coming across the border is unbelievable. They gave us a statistic, Randy, when we were down there. It's called Operation Lonestar. Texas has 1,250 miles of border with Mexico, but just Operation Lonestar there in the McAllen area last year has recovered 450 million. That's the number, 450 million lethal doses of fentanyl. Yeah. And when you look at the U.S. population of 333 million, that's enough to kill all of us plus a third more. So the amount of drugs coming across is a scary thing, and it's what they're intercepting the most.
Governor, while we've got you on the phone, can we jump over to a Missouri issue? The lawmakers passing the education bill over there. I remember when you were in the state Senate, you were on the education committee. What do you think of the current version?
Well, 727, I think, is a good bill for Missourians and, more importantly, for parents who want choice and for students who we want to make sure we not just get through the system, but bring through an educational experience where they're ready to go into the real world on the other side. A lot of people work very hard on that. Andrew Koenig in the Senate and Representative Krista Finelli in the House. It was a priority piece of legislation for Senator Rowden from there in Boone County, for Senator O'Loughlin just to the north of you, as well as Floor Leader Patterson in the House and Speaker Plocker. So it's education reform is something I think that many people for a long, long time have worked on very hard. And it was nice, in my opinion, it was nice to get it across the finish line and to get it on its way to the governor's desk.
Now, something else that's coming up before the session concludes is Buy Missouri Day. I think it's scheduled for May 1st, and that's a program that your office supports and coordinates. Can you talk about what happens in the Capitol on that day and a little more about the program?
Sure. I have to give a shout out to Casey Adrian in our office, who's run that since I've been lieutenant governor. We've grown that program from about 140 counties to over companies. To over 620 companies now in almost 100 Missouri counties and 17,000 Missourians that work for Buy Missouri companies. Unfortunately, we don't have enough room to fit all those in, so we'll have around 50 Buy Missouri companies come down on May 1st, and the purpose is to interact with legislators and just let them know what's being made in their own backyard. And we've done this several years in a row, and it never ceases to amaze the legislators who come up to me and say, this is my district, and I didn't even know that was made here. And so that's the issue, is to expose to lawmakers the great products that are made in Missouri, to appreciate our small business. A lot of them are small family-owned businesses, to make sure we understand what they're doing here, the amount of families they're employing, the impact it has on Missouri's economy, really just to give exposure to Missourians to say your dollars go much farther in Missouri's economy when you keep them within our state's borders. That was Governor Parsons' intent when he came up with the program as lieutenant governor, and we've certainly enjoyed growing it and meeting these companies from all over the state.
Now, Lieutenant Governor, last week, of course, was the start of the spring turkey season.
Get ready, Mike. Get ready.
Hannah, you're not going down this road, are you?
I think I am.
I thought we were BFFs now.
Well, just because we don't have beef doesn't mean I'm not going to give you a hard time, right?
All right, let's have it. Go for it.
So on opening day, I saw 2 different tweets out of the Kehoe household. Sharing that they had gotten opening day birds. Now, I couldn't help but notice that your lovely wife, Claudia, she posted before you did, and I think her turkey was maybe bigger than yours. How do you respond to that?
Well, I would say 2 things to that. She posted way before I did.
Yes.
And the bird that she shot was much bigger than mine. And I don't know, maybe 15 times a day she reminds me of that, as well as many social media posts. But, we love the outdoors. I think everybody on this on your team knows that we're a big fan of being able to be outdoors and being able to have firearms and actually go out and hunt. Which is my opinion, the American way. But Claudia really likes turkey hunting. She's getting pretty good at it, and
obviously,
to your point, I think every year she's actually beat me to the bird. And she has kind of a timing of how long she'll stay in the blind. So the turkeys have to coordinate with her timing, and her timing has to do with when she might have to take a restroom break. So I tell everybody, if the turkeys don't come up before that happens, they're probably safe, because she's going out for X number of hours, and that's it. But she's always gotten one in that time, and it's embarrassing to me most years.
Well, we certainly appreciate you hanging out with all us turkeys here on Wake Up in Missouri.
Well, Hannah, I am so proud that you brought that up, just to point out how good Claudia is at hunting and how lousy I am.
You're welcome.
Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe joins us with beard envy this morning on Wake Up in Missouri. Hey, getting back to the border, what are I know that the people both from Missouri, Midwestern states around, we've heard about Governor Sanders down in Arkansas sending people down. But when you talk to, maybe you have that metaphorical or maybe real beer with the Texas and the federal border guards that are down there, do they express some frustration or a lot of frustration as to just the lack of support they're getting from the federal administration on border security?
Randy, the word "a lot" doesn't even describe it. They're, flat out perplexed on how our federal government is not shutting these borders down. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And as you know, they've been challenged in court over the Concertina wire and the different things that they put up as barriers, again, to funnel people into a proper legal spot. They're, I would say, aggravated is something that would describe their position. And, the Texas Highway Patrol and the DPS, they're very professional. they are very, very appreciative, because what we do in other states, Florida, you mentioned Arkansas, Idaho, have sent troopers down there. It literally doubles their manpower and improves their safety, because some of their highway patrol folks will come across groups of illegal that literally hit the asphalt, which is where most highway patrols, including ours, kind of take over. And they might be 12, 10 or 12 in a group. And if you have a lone Texas highway patrolman, it's much more dangerous than when one of our guys or somebody from another state's men or ladies who are riding with them can help provide backup. So, A, they're very appreciative to the states that are helping them out. And I mean, very appreciative. It was so sincere, it was unbelievable. And then B, yes, they really wish, as I do, and I think most people listening, that the federal government would take this on and shut the border down. They're killing people. They're killing Americans and Missourians, the people that are coming across the borders. And then we've got, craziness like, I'll just go ahead and say it, the mayor of Kansas City who's saying, hey, I'm going to supply $1 million in my budget to take illegal aliens into my city, and effectively creating a sanctuary city right here in Missouri. We can't have that. That's just absolutely not acceptable.
Governor, what have you heard from Governor Parson? We had Lincoln Huff on with us the other day, and we asked him the question, are lawmakers going to have to come back for a special session to finish the budget?
Well, the House and Senate, John, and we've had this conversation for many years since I've been around there, they can do a lot of things each session, but they only have one constitutional duty, and that is to pass not only a budget, but a key word, a balanced budget. I know that the lawmakers on both the House and the Senate intend to get it done by the constitutional deadline. I know the governor would like to get it done. But as you know, there's some interesting dynamics going on in the House and Senate this year with various groups that might have a different plan. I hope that we do what Missourians sent us there for, and that is to do that constitutional duty of balancing the budget and getting it done on time. It would be the Friday before we adjourn. I believe it's around the 10th. But, we'll see. As you've seen many times in that building, different pieces of leverage and conversation come into play when budget comes, and I'm sure this year will be no different with that.
Well, we sure appreciate you being with us, and thanks for spending some time. And, taking the heat from Hannah, Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe.
I had a feeling it was coming, and I was going to get my turkey call out for Hannah, but I decided not to do that.
Yeah, but politics is sharp.
To be on with you guys, and I would just say one last thing in parting is that, we should be really proud of not only our National Guard troops that are down on that border, the men and ladies, but our state highway patrolmen. Missourians can stand proud knowing that our men and ladies from two different agencies are helping fight this border crisis, and they're doing an excellent job. Their families are supporting them, and I couldn't tell you how much of a good feeling that is to meet those men and ladies and these state troopers this last weekend and shake their hand and tell them thank you, and they say we're glad to do it. So keep them in your prayers.
Well, thanks for representing, I think, what I would say is what all Missourians feel about that, and that's a deep debt of gratitude for all their service. Thanks for your service as well. We'll talk to you.
passenger earned the wrath of his fellow commuters after opening up a package of fermented smelly fish aboard the London Underground. The London iconic subway system, the guy can be seen nonchalantly ripping open the pack of the oily fish and then digging into it. What one guy termed unholy mackerel. Riders in the background could be heard saying, brother, and ew. And they would weigh in on how well it smelt. They said they had another incident. This one was in New York in December, where a guy chowed down on an entire raw lobster on the subway. Bearded guy cracked it open and ate the meat. And they say eating on the New York subway not explicitly prohibited, although etiquette dictates that riders refrain from devouring stinky foods in transit. They had a food fight in 2011. Two guys who started brawling after one complained and punched the other guy over stuffing his face with spaghetti. A London transit cop said in the first incident the guy was, quote, probably eating stink ray. Now, you know the rest of that story.
Even when it's kind of cool in London, like the tube is always hot and like warm and that's so gross. I have and you guys know how I feel about food on planes. I think I also feel the same way about food on the tube or trains, although you can get kind of further away from people on the train. But I remember sitting in a law school class and you couldn't get up, right? Like the teacher's teaching and we were crammed in, there were like 75 of us crammed into this small room, and someone promptly opened one of those like tuna fish to go things or whatever.
Yeah.
And I remember they
pack.
opened the can, they squirted the stuff in, and they're stirring, and the stench just, starts working its way around the room, and everyone's just like, "Are you serious?"
The look on Stephanie's face as John was unfolding that story, I wondered if you were going to get sick.
I know exactly. I mean, to this day, I know exactly who it was who opened the tuna fish in that room. I still haven't recovered. It's seared into my memory. The smell is seared into my nose. Don't be that person.
She'll never use lemon pepper again, right?
Gross.
I don't feel so bad about my occasional hard-boiled egg in the studio now.
You should feel bad.
For you, Steph.
When we were dating, my wife went on this Turbo and Fago diet. So Fago diet soda and Turbo, the fish. And she would put the fish in a pan and fry it till it was just, and you'd walk into the room at her home. I would walk into her parents' house and it permeated the whole thing. I can't eat Turbo or, joining as we.
I'll go ahead and shout out listener Scott, who I met last night at a Federalist Society event, and he introduced himself and told me he's part of the fam and likes to tune in. So that was really fun. I always appreciate hearing from folks, and heard the same a lot yesterday morning at the breakfast. So.
Yeah.
Y'all are winners in my book, and it's not everyone always comes up and says something, but it's fun when I get to talk about the show outside of the show.
We saw a couple patients the other day, and I think one of the patients told Helene, she said, you guys have more fun than a barrel of monkeys. And I said, well, as long as they're laughing with us and not at us, right? That happens too, doesn't it, Hannah?
A little bit of both.
Yeah.
Occasionally.
I'll take it. That's okay.
I think these landowners that we're about to talk about might be laughing all the way to the bank. What do you think?
Very interesting thing happened. We've talked about this controversy over in South Kansas City, where a proposed landfill was going to be between half a mile and a mile from the city limits and the border with Raymore, right? Mm-hmm. And then because under current law, they would have escaped the need for approval from Raymore, there was a PAC developed from the local country club people with $1 million houses in Raymore and others in the surrounding areas that said, well, we would need to change the rules to where now you would bring it to within a mile would require approval of the local city, the local municipality. And meanwhile, there were some discussions going on with Raymore city officials and the developer, right?
Yeah, and it felt unfair for the property owner, right? That they bought a property. It was within their zoning rights and existing legal rights to build a landfill. They spent the money on the property.
Millions.
They made plans, and then they're thinking, hey, wait a minute. We're following all the rules, and now you're mad about it? What's going on? And so, nearly every lobbyist in Jefferson City was involved in this fight. Of course, it hit the floor, and it basically, nothing happened the first time it got debated. I mean, there was a lot of debate about it. Mm-hmm. And what we had heard was that there was some negotiating going on in the background, and it looks like that negotiating was, it reached a conclusion.
So what's happened is the city council in Raymore has agreed, contingent on a change in the state law and a restrictive covenant, to reimburse the developer $3-point-something million, including a little purchase of part of that parcel from the city for $400,000. And so it sounds like this is really American governance getting together and things happening. I mean, I think those of us who are saying don't change the rules in the middle of the game are saying, well, but that's okay as long as the landowners are happy. The developer appears to be happy. She talks about moving forward. What's her name? Mannheim. She didn't want to be steamrolled. There's a little joke there. So I mean, I think that it sounds like all parties are happy, right? So where are we as of today now? The developer, if this goes through, will get to do what they want with the property, but not a landfill.
Correct.
And will be reimbursed, right?
So the neighbors are happy because
the neighbors will be happy.
I wonder about the taxpayers of Raymore, because Raymore is because
the non-local taxpayers there.
Well, if I wasn't going to be affected by the landfill, and now my city's shelling out money to this developer for land that wasn't in the budget and that wasn't planned for. I mean, I could see some people saying we could have done something else with that cash.
Right.
Yeah, and I would also say the other point that we have to look at, Stephanie, and you're right on all that, but the opposition from it was, Randy, was not just people that had $1 million homes. There were people who were poor people that did not want it in the area, to the point where Emmanuel Cleaver, who's a very progressive Democratic congressman, and Mark Alford, a very, very right-wing Republican, very conservative, who's on our show quite a bit, they actually teamed up, and they said this plan wasn't going to work. But I mean, you had two very powerful congressmen telling the legislature, get this thing fixed, because they were hearing an earful from their constituents.
They really were. And these property issue and property rights issues, I mean, they're always, whether you're at the local level or the state level, are really difficult, because compromise is really hard, and you either have a landfill or you don't. Here, they were able to kind of satisfy it with some money and some trading, but they often don't break down R&D.
They don't, exactly. And again, it was a situation, you could make the argument, Mark Alford and Emmanuel Cleaver, and they agree on more than we might think, but I mean on abortions, things like that, they don't. You could make the argument they were listening to their constituents, because I know they were getting an earful about it. But that, again, that issue is not something at the beginning of session we had any idea was going to get a lot of attention. And it has.
I'd want to know, going back to what Stephanie was talking about and what you were mentioning, Brian, I'd want to know, I'd love to see an instant pop-up election, a referendum in the city of Raymore or whatever, pick a 5-mile radius from this place, and find out how many people that really aren't really, or well, Raymore particularly, because they're the one that made poll the people in Raymore and find out how many people don't want their tax money or their future tax money that could have gone to other means, other ends to go to bailing out this project. Because I don't know, there's something fundamentally from a principle standpoint that troubles me about this. And as much as I like Mark Alford, I think there's a hazard there to going in a particular direction because a small group of people are unhappy.
I wouldn't say it was a small group,
well,
Randy.
But
compared to the whole state of Missouri, it's a small group.
Well, and my comparison, I think, in my solution when we talked about this when it first hit the floor was, if these residents are so mad and they didn't want the landfill, then they should have gotten together and bought the property and built a dog park or whatever they would want. And here, that's the solution on how you insulate your own home from something you don't like, is get some more land yourself. And here they didn't have to do that now because the city came in and bought it for them. And so this, I think it puts the city in a tough place, because what if I'm the neighbor on the other side of town?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
And somebody wants something, and now the city set a precedent of, well, you bought the land over there, so why don't you buy it over here?
That's the problem.
Yeah.
There's a moral hazard there when you move the goalposts. I'm on defense. The team's coming down the field. They're in the red zone. And I say, well, timeout, refs. We're moving the goalpost to the end, the back of the end, right up by the seats. We're moving it out of the end zone to the seats now. There's something that just seems fundamentally wrong about that.
And I understand, but I'm just going to throw out a scenario. Had they not done this, and I understand what you're all saying, but had they not done this, I could see headlines in newspapers basically saying lawmakers, city doesn't listen to neighbors, big landfill going into residential area. It would be bad publicity for that landfill. So that landfill was getting bad publicity.
But the congressional district that Alford is in, there's a lot of people there that are saying, whoa, wait a minute. Well, I had to abide by the existing zoning rules and go through some heartburn when I did my development, when I bought my land, when I didn't buy mine. I don't know. It just
interesting. I understand.
I don't know. I get worried about special interest, whether they are a group of the citizens or whether it's a big bucks developer, a small group of people changing the rules in the middle of the game. I have a problem with that.
Well, it was one of those kind of deals, too, out there. If anybody's watched that area, out sort of south of Kansas City, we saw it happen first in Grandview, where that became kind of upscale and fell back the other way. And Raymore Peculiar, that whole area out there is nothing but growth, and a lot of high-dollar growth is shown by the folks who were the most upset about this deal.
Yeah, and again, you're right. There's no doubt there's been major growth, but we have to point out that not all the people that were opposed to it were poor folks. They weren't. They were just, middle class or even lower, poor people probably that really didn't want the thing in there either. So it's a tough issue. And Alford, you're right. He represents a district, but he's from Raymore. So he was hearing it, I'm sure, getting an earful. And Emmanuel Cleaver is in inner city Kansas City, but he was getting an earful too.
Yeah, no, I see that side of the story. I was involved in in the rural area, a lot of wanting to maintain some local control over the CAFOs, the big pig operations, But we weren't advocating for someone who had already pulled a license under the existing ordinance that you couldn't have a CAFO over 3,000 hogs within a mile of an inhabited area defined as 10 residents. There were people that were saying, there were people already had poured a foundation. My argument was, we're going to have to live with that. But for future, let's limit how many of those can go in, because the effluent air from those things full of antibiotic resistant bacteria and so forth.
Smells like money.
Yeah.
Well, and again, it depends.
Smells like Bravo Sierra to me. But the point is,
those are controversial for sure.
But I personally, just so you know, I tried to live by the principle. I wasn't advocating to change the rules for a farmer who had already cut a contract with Cargill to build a $10 million facility. It was for future facilities. And sorry, you got to bite the bullet and live by the rules now. And,
and that is and actually that issue has come up for years in the General Assembly. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a newscast. I just want to let people know we've got people stuck in traffic right now. Randy,
still that stadium in 63 thing?
Well, I just called Joint Communications back. They don't have anything new on that, so I think they're still down there. But Gail Blumenkamp just texted me not too long ago from the I-70 Roachport Bridge. The crash is east of the bridge on I-70 near Roachport. 2 vehicles involved. The semi's off the road, so they got to get a tow truck to get that thing off. 1 lane eastbound is closed, and just be patient. There's 1 patient right now, but I'll have more at the bottom of the hour.
Hey, so this eastbound 170 at Roachport Bridge backup we're seeing. Gene is texting us about that. This is not from yesterday.
What is he saying?
Eastbound I-70 at Roachport Bridge backup, bad accident, north side. So
yeah, that would be what Gail.
That's what you were talking about. Yeah,
same thing. It would be basically what Gail's saying. It's just east of the bridge, and that would be, gosh, I'm trying to think of the basically where you turn off where the wineries are. I assume that's the area they're talking about. But yeah, it's really a mess. Shags has had some calls about it as well. But the patrol's working it, as is a couple of other agencies. But you got to get a tractor trailer, you got to get a tow truck to get that thing out, and that's not easy.
Yeah, no, that's hard to get them to wend their way in there and
exactly.
make it in there. Yeah,
the traffic blocked.
Yeah, it was really something. All right, well, hey, we're going to see what's going on in the markets. It's not been a pretty scene in the markets recently, and with this new tension with Israel.
Deal. All right. Yesterday, we had some mixed results. S&P closed down 0.22%. NASDAQ more than that at down 0.52%. The Dow closed up just 0.06%. Communication services and utilities led the gainers, and technology was leading the losers. This morning, we are also seeing mixed results. I've got the Dow just up slightly, S&P, NASDAQ down right now. I suspect it's not going to be a very good day for the markets, but we will see. And of course, we've been struggling a bit lately. Even so, millennials are hopeful. And I think we can be more hopeful than Gen Z in that we're off to a better start. But recently, millennials were polled. YouGov asked millennials when they expect to retire.
What do you think?
I think this is probably right on. The largest share, 30%, chose the age range of, you got any guesses?
Now, this is who asking who?
YouGov's asking the millennials, people my age.
Asking millennials when they're going to retire. I would say 70.
Nope. The majority of them said 51 to 60.
What?
Good for millennials.
Well, that's because they're hitting the dispensaries and smoking dope because they're so... That's so unrealistic.
So they want to retire by 60. Do you know, like,
who's going to pay for that?
I guess I'm 11 years away from 51. Like, can you see me retiring in 11 years? That seems insane.
I don't see you ever retiring.
I'm not going to, probably. I'd be so bored.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
But I do think, so I think early on in our careers, I saw a lot of that, like, really early retirement stuff. We kind of grew up in the Dave Ramsey generation. I think a lot of us got that drilled into us. And so, I think a lot of millennials did start saving early. And I think people who are frugal. And I think we entered the job market at a time that you could do really well. We have homes with percentages that are very, very low, something that's not available to people in Hannah's generation now. I still think, retiring at 60 for anyone who maybe doesn't work for the state of Missouri is going to be really... No, I mean, that's the benefit of working for the state is you oftentimes get really good retirement, and you can retire really early. And I know folks from the state who retired from the state, went and did another job, and got retirement from another job. It was so early. So I think it's tough for folks who are in private industry, but at the same time, you got to work for it. And what this poll found was a lot of these folks, even when they say they want to retire early, haven't saved that much. And they found most millennials do have retirement savings, but the typical millennial has saved only $49,000. According, I think it's to Northwestern Mutual, they're telling us we need about like $1.5 million to retire. So they're like, how are you going to make up that gap?
Don't you think that? I think that the mindset for many Americans is I'm not going to worry about it. Because I look at college students, they're going to get their loans forgiven. Everyone gets something. The government comes to the rescue. I don't want a landfill moving into me. The government will take care of it. I think in the back of people's mind, they think that it's live for today, carpe diem, and I'll worry about tomorrow because I somehow know the government's going to come in and rescue me. They'll print more money. I think there's some mentality there.
Maybe for Hannah's folks, I don't know that the millennials feel that way, but I do think like having so many disruptions in your working career, whether it be, starting out with a recession and then going through COVID, that, career is not everything to these folks. And they said, I can dial back for the purpose of retiring early.
losers. Sometimes there's too numerous to count. Other times, not so much. Stephanie, you're up first after your great MC event yesterday morning.
All right. Winners. I think Southern Boone. I mean, the turnout was insane.
Yes.
There were tons of other partners there, so making a really good showing and showing the interest that the community has was really good. Of course, I don't think I mentioned Reddy was there from Columbia,
The
and
entire
they've been a
community
really
is
good,
winning.
a good partner. So I think they're. Can I nominate myself? Can I nominate Hannah?
Well, we should do that.
For why?
Hannah's birthday is
It
on
is.
Sunday.
Happy birthday
so-
There we go.
to Hannah.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
I'm almost halfway through my 20s. I don't know how to feel about that.
Oh.
You
I
better
feel like-
start saving for retirement.
See, I feel like when you're
Yeah, no kidding. If you retire at 51,
when you're in your early 20s, I feel like you can get away with not having your crap together. But I don't know.
Are you kidding? You think you got to turn 25 and you got to have your stuff together? You think Randy's got his stuff together? Come on.
I guess that's true.
We're all just faking it till we make
The
it.
older you get, the more you realize how little you have together.
there you go.
When you have kids and you're like looking at your kid and
Yeah.
you're like, who do I call? I mean,
I need an adult.
yeah, oh, for sure. Yeah. And you're like, I'm supposed to be the adult, but you keep
It's so
looking
true.
around
Yeah,
for an adult.
yeah.
So you can, happy birthday, Hannah.
Yeah, happy
thank you.
birthday. A
Happy
little
birthday.
ahead of time, but we hope that you have. Do you have a fabulous weekend planned? You going to go somewhere and do a B&B or something? Or
No, I don't know if my husband has anything up his sleeve.
Oh,
I don't
hope he's
know.
listening. Now
He hasn't-
the heat's on.
He hasn't dropped any hints, but he's been suspiciously quiet
Aha.
about it. So I don't know. We'll see.
Maybe he'll grow his beard back for you for a birthday present.
He did ask me what I wanted to do for my birthday, and I said I didn't know because I don't.
You have
will-
losers?
Well, one more. I'll
Oh, one
also
more winner?
nominate Columbia College because they like to celebrate Red Friday with us, and this is actually a T-shirt that they kindly gifted to us.
Woohoo.
So
Good.
Yeah.
it's a really cute one. So I would nominate them. And then as a loser, I'm going to say Jonte Porter. He was banned for life from the NBA for getting involved in a betting scandal, and it's really interesting. I was out of town last week at a gaming law conference, and we had some of these licensed sports betting operators talking about how they take suspicious activity very carefully. And if you look at the NBA's, they take it very seriously, and they self-report when they know because they get all the data, and they're often saying this is suspicious. And the NBA's communication actually says the suspicious behavior was identified by a licensed sports betting operator, and so the system's
Womp
working.
womp.
Good.
You know, when people talk about, oh my gosh, sports betting is going to bring in all this evil, these folks are they're highly regulated. They are really, really good at this stuff, and they were the ones who initially identified this. But really sad. I mean, lifetime ban, and you read the details, and it's not pretty.
Yeah, that's bad.
And it just especially Tolton High School. He came a Mizzou player as well. Just really sad.
Yeah, a little bit of a mark there, but hey, they can't be responsible for how people behave after they get out of their supervision. That's for sure. Brian, how about your winners and losers?
I've got 3 winners of the week this week, and I'm going to start with Trey, one of our listeners that listens every morning. Trey works at the Walmart on Grindstone and does a great job. Always enjoys talking to me about sports and some of the things I mentioned in sports, and he does a great job. So he's one of my winners of the week. Next one is a guy by the name of John Cleek. Tomorrow is the 21st annual Bowling for Autism event.
Neat.
It benefits Easter Seals Midwest. I'm going to channel my inner Earl Anthony tomorrow and be on the bowling team. We're going to have a lot of fun. But more importantly, it's Earl Anthony, for those that don't know, was a bowler in the 1980s. Really,
Man, oh man, Earl Anthony reference. Dick Weber next,
Exactly.
Brian.
You'll have to Google it. Most people that are probably 30 and younger wouldn't know. But he was a huge name. I used to watch him on Wide World of Sports. So, but they probably will raise $30,000 at this event tomorrow for the Easter Seals Midwest.
Good.
So that'll be a big event. And then
And no need for a loan, right?
Exactly. He'll be out there. No doubt about it. John Cleek. Finally, Chris Chin and Don Nicodem. They are friends of this show. They listen. Chris Chin, longtime director of the Missouri Department of Agriculture, does a great job. She farms in Clarence. She's really involved, too, in the FFA, and congrats to her. And Don Nicodem, just want to say a few thoughts on Don. Don is retiring at the Missouri Pork Association. And, I get nostalgia. I'll try not to get choked up because to me, he was at the beginning of my career. I was a young reporter. I knew nothing about agriculture other than what I had heard. Jerry Litton stuff, things like that, really didn't know it. And he was the head of the Missouri Pork Association when I started in Carrollton, Missouri in 1993. 2 floods. A lot of the pork producers were affected by both of those floods, 93, and people forget 95 as well. But he is retiring and did a great job. And what a huge just a mind. His memory is something that I've always appreciated.
And coming from you, that's quite a compliment.
Yeah, I mean, it is. And I mean, and Don, again, kudos, yes, a great memory, and I really appreciate him. And I'm planning on doing a story about him retiring as well. So congratulations to Don, well deserved. And by the way, he looks the same today as he did in 1993. The man has not aged one bit.
Well, now, if by the way, you said you had limited ag knowledge, stick around me. You'll pick up a lot more. You'll learn a lot more good. Sticking around me. Hannah's rolling her eyes. Right. He's rolling her eyes. I know how to plant a food plot using my old John Deere 6 row no till with the corn or bean hopper I have to change out. So there you go, Hannah. Hannah,
proud of you.
What's on your winners and losers?
My first winner of the week, of course, the Centralia FFA chapter.
Yay!
This week, Columbia has had over 5,000 FFA students in town for annual state convention. Centralia took home the coveted first place chapter award. Cool. So they were named top chapter in the state for the year. Big deal. Proud of my alma mater there. My other winner of the week is a journalist by the name of Jason Hancock. He writes for the Missouri Independent, and he took me giving him a hard time very well, and he was a good sport about it. They had used our interview with David Steelman from last week in one of their articles about the Dean Plocker, Speaker of the House investigation, and we were just a radio show, right? In the article, it's a joke in the radio industry, yeah.
Just another radio show.
And so I tweeted and tagged him, and I was like, "Hey, I think you forgot to mention that the radio show was called Wake Up in Missouri," and he actually edited the article. So I thought that was really cool, and I appreciated that.
Thanks, Jason.
That's awesome.
My 2 losers of the week, I also had Jonte Porter, and then did you see that RFK's entire family this week came out and publicly endorsed Joe Biden for president?
I saw it. There's been a lot of vitriol ever since he announced the family's abandoning him.
Yeah. Oh, and my other winner of the week would be Lieutenant Governor Kehoe. Not him, but his lovely wife, Claudia, because she got the bigger turkey. Yeah.
All right. That doesn't make him a loser of the week, though.
No,
it just makes him a.
Yeah.
I think you were close to asking him if he was a turkey, or did you actually ask him that? We'll have to go back and replay that. I don't know. By the way, if you want to hear the interview with Scott Stone, speaking of the Centralia team, we did an interview with him. What was that? Wednesday. Or was it yesterday?
It was yesterday.
Yep. And so that's archived on the Facebook. You can go back and catch that too. It's a lot of fun because we did ask him about any of Hannah's antics when she was under his tutelage.
And he didn't throw me under the bus, which I also appreciated.
I gave him every chance.
There's a picture of Hannah still in the high school, and I'm going to have a separate story up on both KWS.com and 93.9theeagle.com. We'll have audio from him, more of a separate story. And the governor will be at Hearns today. I'm going to meet him out there later today. And I'll have that audio Monday morning. The governor will keynote that speech, but a lot of buses in town, so be patient.
I should also shout out another winner from yesterday. The Southern Boone Economic Development Council gave out an inaugural award that they're calling the Eddie Award, and that was gifted to C.L. Richardson Construction Company for their long time contributions to the community.
That's beautiful.
So yeah, that was really neat, and I think that's going to be an annual award that they give out to someone local here.
And big in Ashland and all over. They're involved. They donate a ton, and most people don't know about it. They do it behind the scenes.
Their whole crew there, so you can find a photo of them up on the Southern Boone Economic Development Council's website.
Yeah, and
John,
great job.
Your winners and losers.
I got a couple quick ones, a couple losers, and in a nutshell, Cardinal fans and Royal fans with the passing this week of the skipper, the White Rat, Whitey Herzog.
Yep, you bet. I have a couple of. Do you have winners?
Well, let's leave it with those. Whitey was the big winner.
Okay, Whitey was the winner, and in a way, it was a loss for Cardinal Nation. Not that they're losers, but it's a loss.
Whitey was the winner and had the rings to prove it that he didn't lose in a pile of spaghetti.
No, that's right. I think Jason Kelsey's a loser because he left his ring in a vat of chili.
Yeah.
Hey,
I hate it when that happens.
I want to shout out to Reese Patterson, who was the recipient of a $500 KWOS Sportscaster Scholarship in the joint. There was yesterday I had the pleasure of presenting that to him in behalf of KWS and Zimmer Communications at the 37th Annual Common Scholarship Luncheon down there in Jefferson City.
There's
over
a photo.
$500,000 were given it through. It's a lot of money.
There's a photo of you and him up on the website, right?
Yeah, we put I actually tweeted that. I Facebooked that.
You did?
He wants to go into sports broadcasting, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he's going to go to Mizzou and go into the journalism school there, he hopes, and move forward there. And he also got another award, so he's quite a talented individual from another scholarship donor. So that was a great bunch of kids there. I mean, it warms your heart to see children. They're young adults at this point, doing such a great job. And we should mention we had a couple of nominations from folks. Evan says his winner of the week is his sister, Leah, who just passed the test and got her driver's license.
Awesome.
If my insurance company is listening, maybe I can get a lowering of the rates there. Jeff says, I have great news. I became the lot manager at Capital City Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. So
that's awesome.
I almost said Rambler.
Capital City.
Can't be any worse than what I accidentally said earlier.
Yeah. Now, for the loser of the week, this is our loser of the week.
Are you ready to choose freedom over democracy? Because that's America. Yes.
Are you ready to choose freedom over democracy? Because that's America. Yes, that was our president.
Wow.
And if you caught it, I'm going to play it again because he actually the people applauded. Listen to this.
Are you ready to choose freedom over democracy? Because that's America. Yes.
Yes.
What's wrong with the people in the audience?
meant
I mean,
to
come
say
on.
that
Was a
since we are-
reflexive. It was a reflexive thing, but because he looked up expecting to get applause.
Since we're a republic and not technically a democracy, that's what he was getting.
Oh, that's what it was. Oh, John Marsh covering for the gaffe-prone president of the United States.
Now,
There he
I
is.
wouldn't go so far as to name Biden a winner of the week for what I'm about to play, but he actually told kind of a funny joke. It was kind of a good burn against DJT. Here it is.
You know, I have to say, if Trump's stock in the Truth Social, his company, drops any lower, he might do better under my tax plan than his.
I thought that was a good burn.
We'll step aside, and when we come back, I have yet another unbelievable story that Joe has conjured. investigative journalism and do some fact checking and figure it out, because I can't find anywhere that it's been proven that what he said was true. Listen.
Uncle, they called him Ambrose, Brosey, they called him Bosey. My Uncle Bosey was a hell of an athlete, they tell me, when he was a kid. And he became an Army Air Corps before the Air Force came along. He flew those single-engine planes as reconnaissance over war zones. He got shot down in New Guinea, and they never found the body because there were a lot of cannibals for real in that part of New Guinea.
Got shot down over New Guinea, his Uncle Bosey. And, of course, there's a lot of cannibals there, so you know what happened to old Uncle Bosey. And no one can seem to. He told the steelworkers this after. He also told them that after D-Day, his mother's 4 brothers volunteered to join. One of those was Ambrose Finnegan, who went by the nickname Bosey. And the fact checkers can't ever prove that. Well, of course, they never found him, but that's his theory anyway. They never covered his body. He tells these bizarre stories. What we do know is that on May 14th, 1944, an airplane carrying a crew of 3 and 1 passenger, identified as Finnegan, left Los Negros Island for a courier flight to New Guinea. Plane was forced to ditch in the ocean off the north coast of New Guinea. Both engines failed at low altitude, and the aircraft's nose hit the water hard. I don't know how many cannibals were in a rubber raft in 1944 out off the coast of New Guinea. The men failed to emerge from the sinking wreck and were lost in the crash, according to reports. So fact check would seem to be at odds with what President Joe Biden says. It's
as it usually is.
I mean, that's just really inexcusable. You'd think that if I was Joe Biden and I knew I was having some cognitive problems, I would tell my staffer in the back of the room, hey, when I start going off script and going south down that rabbit hole that they're going to get me on a gotcha, please wave your hands, make a, scratch.
I mean, that's what we do here on the show.
Scratch your nose. That's what I do when you start going down the rabbit hole. I know.
I've got an
I
electric.
don't think his ego would allow him to do that, honestly.
Yeah. I've got an electric zapper installed in Randy's chair, and when he starts going somewhere that I don't think we should go, I just zap him a couple times.
Yeah.
They only do that when he's like shuffling around the stage, and they kind of like
when he goes into Roomba mode.
Yeah.
It is funny that his wife on several occasions has grabbed him by the arm and basically guided him off the stage, or at some of the White House events, out on the lawn. Handlers have to keep him from talking to the Easter Bunny too long. It's just.
I mean, they used to try to help him by like writing on the script, but then he went like full on Anchorman and was reading the
reading the punctuations, yeah. Quote, unquote,
and
quote.
So they gave up on that.
All right, John, you have anything quick?
Well, we heard from law enforcement city leaders in Jefferson City said their homeless population is growing in the capital city. And they say because they think some of it's because of the homeless camps closing down in Columbia.